Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello everybody, you're listening to Will and Chris here at Daily Wolves, and on today's episode we're going to be taking a look at the upcoming fixtures that we have in store. But Chris, before we get to that, how are we? You know, it's the positive vibes. I assume they are continuing here.
I'm living the high life. Hey everyone, it's just, it feels amazing to be living this, this week, this joy, this feeling that we haven't felt for so long. I know we had the win against Southampton, but this is a whole different vibe, and it feels happy to be. I know we're still, by all. Don't get me wrong, the season has got a long way to go, but this feeling that we haven't had in a while of just reveling in a fresh week, where that feeling as well, where I have watched the highlights multiple times already, because they released the extended highlights, and I was like, yeah, I'll watch that again. I'll watch the extended highlights, and then I watched it again. It's rude not to. And it's just living the dream right now. And can I say one thing before we go? You probably didn't. I don't know if you expected this, but just while you've got the Ryan reading of all the positive things that have come out this weekend, when weeks back, whenever it was, a month or two ago, when they first unveiled that new third kit that they played in this weekend, my instincts, and I think we spoke about it at the time, were like, don't think much of that. That's a bit rancid. And then when I was watching them at the weekend, and then again during the highlights, the more I look at it, the more I want that. It's like it's grown on me. It's a grower, and I think it's not just tied in with the victory. Is it actually looks really appealing. The purple is just grown on me, like the purple dream.
But this is it. I mean, to be fair, I don't think the purple was never the issue. I just think it would be so much nicer if it was a white badge and a white trim. Just anything but that weird luminous orangey red thing.
No, it's even that is great. Like the whole thing is just the more I watch it, the more I see it. And I've been to the shop and I've seen it in the flesh. I'm not just talking, off the images. The more I look at it, and I'm like, actually, yeah, I like this.
I want to know if you'd still be feeling the same feelings had we have lost 4-1.
I mean, that's a very good question, but again, nothing. I know this is a random topic that I've just taken us down on, but I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it, and yeah, maybe it is tied in with the victory a little bit, but it just looks really nice, and it's a grower because I did think it was horrific, and the more I see of it, the more I'm on this train, people. If someone wants to buy me a Christmas present, I'm all for it. Get me that shirt.
I'm gonna be what I feel on a rare occasion as the voice of reason here. I dare say there's a slight hint of just we're getting a bit carried away. Because I still think it's hideous. I just don't like it. But look, to be honest, I couldn't care less what they're wearing as long as they're 3 points.
Yep. No, it was brilliant. As I say, watch the highlights again and again, like many of you out there. We all do it. I know you do. Where you just, I'll watch that again, especially when they're all beautiful goals again. And Cunha's strike again, but all of them once again beautiful set pieces. And the more I look at and again I'm just waxing lyrical, but that Gomez goal, what's beautiful in it is Cunha's assist. It's a no-look pass. Have you noticed that? It's like he's in the build-up. He's looking around. He's always looking around, looking for the players around him as to what the opportunities are. But when he actually plays the ball, he doesn't look at Gomez. He's drawing the defenders away with his eyes in another direction, and he plays a no-look pass off to him. And it's just subtle and it's quick. But the more I look at it, the more items I appreciate in that moment.
No, I can appreciate that. And, since we're waxing lyrical, I'd like to take this opportunity to speak about something that we didn't mention yesterday, which is Raul. We mentioned about his miss where he should have scored. But I've seen that his partner's taken to Instagram and it's been all over the social medias of the Wolves fans singing his chant once more.
Yeah.
And I started to get a bit nostalgic. We had it with my beloved Ruben the other week at Molineux. And now with Raul, it's, it was really nice. It was nice that we got the opportunity to do that, if you know what I mean, because had the result have not been going our way, it certainly wouldn't have been happening. But it's I don't know. It's one of those. There's a few players from that sort of era that, no matter where they are now, or what they're doing, I think I speak for all Wolves fans where we just simply wish them the best, and we're happy if they're happy, sort of thing. And I think that's sort of specifically relevant when it comes to Jimenez.
Yeah, I mentioned in the crossover with Fulham and preview to the weekend, and I didn't get, I think, to do an episode with you and Nathan last week where we did a kind of preamble to that game together. But I mentioned in the crossover that I think one of the saddest things about Jimenez's departure was we didn't get to do a proper farewell.
Yeah.
And I said, I vented quite strongly how that still stings with me. He was a great servant to the club in his time. And obviously, if it wasn't for that horrific injury, things would have been so different. But the way he was kind of treated in the last few games, I know he was, not the same player at that point. But that last home game where he didn't get to come on, and you could see the devastation, and he didn't get the treatment he deserved in his swan song, and it still hurts. So hence the treatment at the weekend with the song, the away fans singing his name. Yeah, the circumstances obviously helped Wolves in that moment to be able to do it a bit more joyfully, but I think it's only right that he gets that kind of sing song every now and again, because we didn't get to do it at Molineux the way we should have, and it hurts me still.
Yeah, no, like you yourself, I'll never forgive Julian for not putting him on, and it was just nice to do what we missed out on doing, I suppose. And apart from in the return fixture, of course, wish him all the best for the future. But speaking of the future, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to take a look at our upcoming fixtures. But before we do that, I'd just like to give out a quick reminder that here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencaster came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencaster. But Chris, yes. I think it's time that we together learn more about what's in store for Wolves over the coming weeks and months. So from this high of beating Fulham away, we're moving on to this Saturday, a nice Saturday 3:00 home game against Bournemouth.
Bring it on.
Yes. I dare say, O'Neill probably still feeling like he has something of a point to prove to those down on the south coast, maybe, especially with the way the season has gone so far, with Bournemouth being 6 points ahead of us in 13th place. And as I've just said that, I just thought, as you mentioned yesterday, we're out of the relegation zone. 13th, mid-table, pretty much. I mean, I know that's 10th, but you know what I mean. Safety, I wouldn't be worrying if we were 13th right now. That's only 2 wins away, depending on, the other results. It's maybe things are starting to change.
Yeah, to be honest, it's been the same the last few seasons. I don't mean the form. I'm talking about the quantity of teams gathered together in a very small space. It's very easy to shuffle up several places or down several places within 2 or 3 weeks, because the bottom, like that's bottom 10, if you like, the bottom half of the table is always kind of very, very so packed. Tight. And so, it opens up now. We're just above the relegation zone, but a win or 2 more and you're suddenly, pushing towards the top half. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, it does work on the flip side as well. But so long as we can keep up this, positive momentum that we're on, and as you mentioned, it's just so, it's so tight down there at the bottom. So I'm leaving that in.
Phrasing.
I'm leaving that in.
Yeah.
But with that being said, according to Google's very own statistics. Now, I mean, I'm not basing my thoughts and feelings off this, but I don't know if you know this, but Google actually offers a win probability feature. And I was looking at it earlier, doing my research here, and Bournemouth are still apparently favourites to win, with that being at 40% chance of a Bournemouth win compared to 35 of a Wolves win. Now, maybe we are just getting carried away, and maybe everyone else around us is also just a bit crap. But I don't see Bournemouth as favourites, especially with us. I mean, I know the table doesn't lie. I get that, but based off current form, you'd like to think, especially with it being at home, that we can get a result here. No,
totally. I think even before the win against Fulham, it's a game we were looking at with 3 points in mind.
Yeah.
No matter the result against Craven Cottage, I think that was always the case. I think Gary Neal and the team would have been marking it as well as, that's one they've got to take 3 points from. And I don't think, well, obviously even more so now that everyone's going to be looking at it in the same way, with the optimistic vibe that's now perking its head, if you like, through the momentum that's shifting a little bit. So yeah, I think without doubt it's one that we should be looking to win, and the quality that the team has always had is now starting to shine a little bit more. I mean, what is that? Is it 4 games unbeaten now, 5 games unbeaten? My brain, I had it yesterday and my brain's just emptied.
4, I'm pretty sure.
And 2 draws, 2 wins. And so I think, we should be looking at this with a victory in mind. It's got 3 points all over it. And I know that you can't take that as a given in the Premier League. We've said it many times before. Every game is tough. However, this is arguably one that we should be going into thinking they've got to win this.
Yeah, you'd like to think so. And that's something you just mentioned there, how we've got to win this. I agree. I still do think, despite winning 2 on the bounce, it's a must win. When you look at how tight it is down at the bottom, and how sort of, I suppose the congestion down there and how crucial.
I'm sorry, everyone. I'm sorry. To put this into perspective, everyone, I am an English person trained in innuendo. I grew up watching Hello Hello. I'm a child of the 80s. It is indoctrinated into me that we speak a certain way. We are British through and through, and that's just the way my brain works. I'm sorry, I make no apologies.
Look, you're corrupting my my thoughts and feelings.
You've long since been corrupted, Will. We all know that. Just go with it. Just go with it. I'll try not to divert us anymore. I'm sorry.
Speaking of corruption and speaking of games that we expect to win, or at least, saying expect to win is, I suppose, a bit harsh considering that we're still only 17th. But after Bournemouth, we travel to Goodison Park to play Everton. Now, I know your feelings about Everton.
I think I have made them clear. I was trying to think where you're going with that, but I think I have made them quite clear. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, feel free to let us all know.
They deserve to be relegated, quite frankly.
And why is that?
I just feel, if you haven't been here previous episodes, I just feel like it's long overdue. They flirt with it every season, and every season something happens to seem to pull them out of the mire, whether it's someone just being that bit more atrocious or something else happening. And the amount, how many times over the years have we seen like last day survival from them? Literally last day survival.
That Calvert-Lewin header a few years back springs to mind.
And so I just feel like their time is long overdue. And I know that's it may seem paltry, but it's just the way I feel.
I mean, I dare say I agree with you. I've always had a slight soft spot for them to a certain extent.
And this is the last time we'll see Will on the podcast. Thank you, everyone.
No, purely just based on like the underdog sort of, them in comparison to Liverpool. But I've lost that with recent years with the way they're the constant booing and so on that's become so sort of synonymous with their fan base. At one point I thought it was funny, but I know what you mean. It just gets to a point where I sort of come on guys, surely enough's enough now. Just go down.
Yeah, and then obviously last season the points deduction, but the second points deduction was not. Was it last season? It was last season, I think. And then the second points deduction was not as much, and they had a reduction on the points deduction, which was all very weird after an appeal. And it's like, no, just stop helping them. And they've dug this hole. Let them stay in the hole that they dug, and then in the end they got points given back to them, and it was all a bit weird. Just stop.
Well, you'd like to think that we pick up some points there, just even if that's a draw, because I know the atmosphere there can be quite nasty. In a way, I think that probably works in our favour, because a lot of the time it's nasty towards Everton.
Yeah, we've seen that before, where if they don't, I feel like sometimes they are their own worst enemy. Just on my personal experience, that if they don't go ahead within a certain amount of time, or if they go a goal down against someone like us, who at the moment, whatever the form is like, whatever the quality of the players are like, based on league position, they'll be thinking, they should get something from this game, and heaven forbid we, from their position, score first, then the home crowd can really get on them faster than the likes of we do at Molineux, even, a lot quicker sharp turn. And so it can get it. I mean, we saw them was it a couple of seasons ago, they kind of threw the game away when the crowd were urging them to push forward and get something from the game, and it actually backfired, because rather than keep possession, they gave away the ball late in the game. And I think that was the Lopetegui game.
That Aït-Nouri game that turned our season around in that Lopetegui season. Yeah,
and that was because the home crowd were urging them to do stuff, and they gave the ball away.
The one thing I do want to mention about this game, which I will also mention about the next one afterwards, is that's at 7:30 on a Wednesday evening.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the games that Amazon Prime will be covering.
Oh, nice.
Which, it's just a bit annoying. And likewise for our next fixture, which is on the following Monday the 9th of December, we travel to Upton Park. No, we don't. We travel to, what's it called? Is it just the London Stadium now at West Ham?
I don't know. Before we proceed on to that, just to say that maybe I'm in the minority, but not to do with the time of the fixture or anything, but I actually quite like the Amazon coverage. I think the Amazon coverage is pretty good, and the quality of the stream is really good. Everything just kind of works, and I hate to say it, but I'd be happy to watch more of my team's games on there.
No, I agree with you to an extent. I'm not a fan of the timings.
No.
I know my dad won't be when he's coming back at goodness knows what time it is from London after we've lost to Lopetegui's West Ham. But out of the three that I've mentioned, that's the one that I'm the least confident about, purely just because Lopetegui's in charge.
Yeah.
And I just feel, with the same sort of, I'm not letting the fact that neither Adama or Raul scored against us this weekend distract us from the fact that we are Wolves and we're coming up against a former manager and a former player as well, of course, with Kilman likely to be playing for West Ham. It's just, it's one of those ones.
That's going to be sad, because I love Kilman. I think if anything, he's been underrated here for long periods of his career, and if anything, we've shown this season how much we miss him, just in terms of the consistency. I mean, he played every game last season for the last couple of seasons. He's like one of those stalwarts that you can just rely on, and those players that don't pick up many injuries are actually really special in terms of your squad as well. We've seen it with their centre backs this season alone. So and then he's actually pretty good at times on top of that. So I'm gonna I feel sad when I see him in a West Ham kit and I'm going to feel sad him playing against us. But I do hope, and I've mentioned it before, I would love it if their current dip in form continues. I would love it if we go there, if we beat them, and that has an impact on Lopetegui's West Ham career. I'm going to be so in love with that day.
Well, just on that note, there's two things that I want to pick up on. First of all, out of the three of our next fixtures at this time of recording, what's funny is they all sit next to one another in the league from 13th to 15th. It goes Bournemouth, West Ham, Everton, going downwards in that order. And then Leicester are the only ones in between us and that little trio there. And also, at the time of recording, Chris, I'm sure you'll be quite annoyed to know that West Ham are currently 2-0 up against Newcastle right now, right this second. By time we finish recording and by time this episode has gone out, I hope for your sake that that has changed. But yeah, I know what you mean. I'd love to get a point down there. I'd love to get 3 points down there. But certainly, when you look at where they all are in the table, and the form that we are now finding ourselves in, you certainly got to be full of confidence. But before we move on to just the final fixture that I would like us to look at today, I would just like to give out another quick reminder that this podcast is part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football and fantasy football. A unique listening experience that puts the fans first, bringing you the very latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and make us your first listen every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network, every club, every day. But yeah, so Chris, I just mentioned where those teams were in the table, and I mentioned that just above us is Leicester City, that's separating us from Everton, West Ham and Bournemouth.
Yep.
Now, they are also one of our upcoming fixtures. We travel to Leicester after we play the team directly below us, which is Ipswich Town.
Yep.
Saturday, 3:00 at Molineux. Surely that's got to be another one that we're looking at winning. I'm sort of, it's crazy how quickly the sort of feelings and thoughts can turn, because up until this Saturday, we didn't have a hope, and now we're looking at the result we just got and the results we're looking to get, and we're full of optimism.
Well, yeah, we are. I mean, we did say a couple of weeks ago, or maybe even longer, that regardless of whatever points we got at the likes of Craven Cottage, that this November to December period was going to be crucial in the season overall, just from where these teams already were around that time, and knowing the fixtures we'd already had. So yeah, this is going to be massive, but it is definitely more optimistic, having gone, like we said, 4 games unbeaten, having gone 2 wins on the trot, and the last one being so thorough. It just hopefully keeps galvanizing the team, reminding them that they do actually have quality, which sounds stupid because they do, but it's very different being a human being, focusing on your mistakes and a load of losses and feeling like you're not capable, but they are showing it, and hopefully it just endorses them further and pushes them forward. And I love the fact that in that last game, for example, we're 3-1 up, and in the dying moments we're still pushing on for a fourth on the break, when they could have just they could have just kind of sat the game out, and maybe that could have backfired. But I kind of like that they went, and it helps our goal difference, because that was atrocious, but it's pushing it back in the right direction.
Yes. No, I agree 100%. It's that thing, it's the whole notion that I mentioned yesterday. We spoke about, the confidence. We look back to, why O'Neill was so successful last season, at the start of last season, was, because from the outside looking in, it was Lopetegui left essentially calling half the squad useless and not good enough for him. And then O'Neill came in, and it was like a breath of fresh air and optimism, installing that confidence and that optimism within the players themselves. And if we've got that back, if we've got that on our side, not just as fans, but as you said, as players, it makes a world of difference. Because as you mentioned earlier, with the goals that we saw going in against Fulham, the little no-look pass from Cunha, and obviously his second finish in particular, things like that, that quality has always been there within the team, and it's now starting to all come together and get us results.
Yeah, I think the curious thing is going to be, well, actually, two things I want to know. One is, they're kind of related. The curious thing, we will go further into them into our next pre-match, but is going to be the lineup for the next game, because obviously the lack of centre backs, and we mentioned it the other day, with Mario Lemina being at centre back, allowed Andre to come in. Now, what I noticed in that game, I mean, we saw it with the fact that João Gomez had more than one chance and scored one, and was involved a lot more further up the pitch. Now, obviously, some of that is tactically planned, but also having the like of Andre behind. He knows that he's got Andre behind him, and it can allow João Gomez to be more aggressive, if you like, further up the pitch, because he knows as a Brazilian how solid Andre is behind him, and he can just kind of charge forward more, and not have to be as much the defensive one. And I'm curious going into these next fixtures now, if the centre backs get healthier, and then what is O'Neill going to do? Because Andre did well, João Gomez did well with him in there, but Mario Lemina did okay at centre back, but obviously that's not his spot. And who's going to give way, and who's going to stay? And then also Rodrigo Gomez, I want to see more of him. But again, if the midfield is being fought for in all these spots, then is Gomez just going to drop back to the bench, even though he's a winger, because he's going to have to shove someone further up pitch? I'm really curious where we go from here.
Yeah, just my initial reaction to that will be that Andre will be dropped again. Not that I think he should, but just because we've seen O'Neill do that sort of inexplicably already. Because as you mentioned again yesterday and just now, the guy's unreal. Just not just as a workhorse and a defensive sort of, player, but just the ball retention is unbelievable. So, yeah, I do get what you mean. It's certainly going to be interesting to see how O'Neill lines up going forwards. But I think one thing's for clear, no matter who the personnel is that we seem to be turning around the corner from the negativity and that difficult run of form that we were on to now pushing on and kicking on with our season. And on that note, Chris, would you like to do the honours of saying, you say the line, you know the line.
This has become a thing that you started building me up to, because I think you just like to hear me say it. And it is proving true. I've been, even when I've been Mr. Optimism, but even when I've been Mr. Pessimistic at times, the last couple of weeks, and I hate to say it, maybe you and Nathan brought me down a little bit into that doldrum, because it was all getting a bit anxious. However, we are beginning to see and be reminded once again, everyone, that even in the darkest of times, out of darkness cometh light.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.